Thanks for tuning in to Women Who Open Doors, a podcast dedicated to lifting the voices of incredible women in our communities who not only excel in their careers, but inspire us through their actions for others. Hi, I'm Julie Collins, owner and coach of Not Magic, and it's my honor to help share the stories of these remarkable women. So without further ado, welcome to Women Who Open Doors. Welcome to Women Who Open Doors. You are now going to listen to two Julies today, so this is super exciting. Let me introduce you to our guest. Julie Hoover is currently the Executive Director of Family Sharing of Ozaukee County. Family Sharing was founded in the 1970s as a food pantry to serve those who need help, and also a retail store that helps to support the pantry. Julie has been in her role now for 7 years and loves working with the staff and volunteers to find new and innovative ways to help others in Ozaukee County. She has a degree in mechanical engineering, has been in sales, a commercial pilot, which I want to know a little bit more about, a recruiter, and a leader in internal operations. Welcome, Julie. Thanks for joining me today.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks. I'm really excited to talk to you, especially your background is so unique, and now being in a food pantry. So we have so much to talk about today.
Great.
So you shared with us a little bit more information about yourself, and you shared that you are a quilter. So it's only natural you refer to your professional career as a patchwork quilt. So lots of different experiences. So tell us a little bit about that patchwork quilt first to start.
I think I'm somebody who has a lot of different interests, and at times in my life that's been hard. I think we all expect that we'll know exactly what we want to do and we can follow that path. And I think it's great that now you don't have to do the same thing your entire career. So I've been fortunate that I've had some great experiences, and one thing has kind of led to the other, along with my natural curiosity. And it's just wild how all my different experiences have come together, and I draw on them in this job now, plus learning new things every day. So
how did you, I bet. How did you find yourself then in this executive director of family sharing? How did it get to that milestone for you?
I was working for a technology company, and my manager, who I had known for years, left, and she told me she was going to leave, and she was taking a job at Family Sharing. We both were from the Cedarburg-Grafton area, and it was later in her career, and she had decided that she wanted to leave the corporate world and go get a job that really filled her heart. And I said, oh, please take me with you, because I really was at the same point where I wanted a job that really felt good and fulfilled me inside. And she said, I wish I could, but I just don't have a big staff. And unfortunately, due to some personal situations, she had to retire much sooner than she planned on. So she called me and said, I just talked to the board. I just gave my notice. I can get your resume in the right hands. I can't get you the job, but I can get you in front of the right people. I said, well, let's start conversations. And I met with several board members, and it was just a great fit. I was so excited about what the organization was doing and how they were fulfilling their mission. And at the same time, I saw that there were a lot of opportunities to make incremental changes to continue to improve what was going on. So I was thrilled when at the end of the interview process, I was able to come on board. So that's how it all came together.
That's cool. What was missing for you? What about this potential, this position was really attractive? I know you said, take me with you, but what about it was really attractive?
I think just that making an impact. I think what I was lacking in my previous job is I didn't feel, it didn't give me that sense of purpose. And I really wanted that sense of purpose, and knowing that I was making a positive, meaningful difference to others. That's fulfilling to me. It's not about the money. It's not about the title. It's about really, at the end of the day, thinking I did something that made life better for another person. And I was in a job that just wasn't satisfying in that way. And this definitely is.
That's cool. I was just at a seminar yesterday and they were talking, especially after COVID, talent recruitment and retention is so important, but that is a huge piece of why people are leaving jobs right now. And so you were there 7 years ago, you started a trend about, you know, people wanting more purpose in their careers than, and it's not just work.
And I think companies are understanding that. And we have so many companies that reach out to us and say, we're giving people paid work days to go and volunteer at a nonprofit. We're
Mhm.
doing food drives. They're looking for meaningful ways to have their teams, make a difference in the world. And it bonds the company, employees together too. So you don't have to leave the corporate world to have that sense of satisfaction. And I think that's wonderful that people have started to realize that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So tell me, well, I know a little bit because I've been to the facility before and doing some donation drop-offs, and I know a few of your volunteers, but tell us a little bit more about family sharing holistically and all the great work that you guys are doing.
Yeah, so the organization, like you said at the beginning, was founded in the 70s, and there was a woman who saw a need in the community, and she opened up her garage, and she was giving people food, and then she was also selling items to raise money to buy more food. And all these years later, it's that same model, just on a much, much larger scale. So we have a resale store that's open to the public, and we always say it's a resale boutique because it doesn't feel like many other resale stores. It feels clean and inviting, and it's beautifully merchandised, and that's all done by our volunteers and our really small store staff. They do a beautiful job. So when people come and they donate items, we generate revenue. That money helps us to fund the food pantry. So we have a food pantry that's open 2 days a week. And then we also have 3 new initiatives that we've started within the last year. And that is a mobile pantry that goes out to the furthest reaches of the county to serve people. We have food delivery to seniors in low income housing or those who are disabled and can't get to us. And then we have a bags and backpack program where we get food to the schools to give to kids who face food insecurity when they're not in school on the weekends. So there's something going on here every single day. We have over 115 regular volunteers, meaning they're here every week. Some people are here 3 days a week. And then we have a number of volunteers who come in groups to help, whether it's sort food or all kinds of other things. So it takes hundreds of people to make it happen. And this community is just amazing how much they care and want to help others.
Wow, 115. I didn't realize that. That's fabulous.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
115 regularly. And I always think they could choose to be doing whatever they want and they choose to be here and they work hard and they're so dedicated. The number of people who are here every single week without fail. We just couldn't do it without them. It's
Hmm.
incredible.
Yeah. You and I had a great conversation even before this when we first met, just about, I've lived in Ozaukee County now for almost 10 years, 10 or 11 years. And I think for all of us that aren't in that situation, I just speaking for myself first, didn't really think about, the underserved in our county. Right. I
Mm.
thought of more of the underserved outside of our county, but, you shed some light on, you know, underserved is in every place, and maybe a little bit more about the mission, why it's so important for you and family sharing to do this work here in Ozaukee County.
I think we don't have a large homeless population in Ozaukee
Mhm.
County. So it's when there are issues, they're not as visible. But the United Way has a survey that they created years ago that's so helpful. And they look at the number of people in any given county that are above the poverty line, but below the cost of living for that community. And that's really what we see here in Ozaukee County is the cost of living is high. So we have a lot of people who are working, and there might be multiple people in the household that are working or they're working more than one job. But to keep up with the cost of rent and childcare and all the necessities is very hard. And often If something comes along that's an unexpected expense, people can fall behind and then really struggle to catch back up. So they might, be budgeting every single nickel, but all of a sudden there's a car repair bill for $2,000 and then everything crumbles. So we want to be there to help in those times to say, let us take care of, some of your grocery expenses until you can get back on track and then be self-supporting again. Nobody grows up thinking, I want to go to a food pantry. That's a hard thing to ask for help. So when people come to us, we don't want it to be embarrassing. We don't want them to feel badly. We all have rough times in our life, and that's fine. That's what we're here for. So we can work with people and help them find other services they might need in addition to food. We also see a lot of seniors. And especially this year, we've really noticed the numbers go up. And you think about when people are on a fixed income, if the stock market's struggling, if you're in a home, even if that home is paid off, property taxes go up year after year, groceries go up. We have a lot of seniors that I think probably thought they were fine when they retired, that are struggling to make ends meet now. And they come to us for supplemental food at times. So there are definitely needs. It might be short-term, it might be long-term. And we try and meet everybody where they are. We sit down with everyone when they come in and say, hey, what's going on? What are your urgent needs? How can we be that buffer and help? Because we want to be there along with our partners in the nonprofit space and with other specialties. We want to be that safety net before it becomes an emergency situation. If we can help people with food for a few months so that they can get their rent paid, that prevents them from losing their homes and that whole spiral that can happen.
That is really what you talk about in your website and through your bio about, helping people with dignity and compassion. And I love that because it's not just about making sure people get food, right? It's about how they get the food and how they feel at the time, because you're right that, that's just a critical time for their self-esteem and how they feel. So I just love that.
And that's such a sense of community. I always think if my friends need a hand, I want them to tell me, and I'm not going to not be their friend if they need help with something. And it's, these are our community members, and they're not looking for a handout. They're people. They have stories to tell and strengths to bring, and it's just amazing the relationships that form. You see people come in and the volunteers know them by name. Or I got to go to Mobile Pantry this summer, and when I missed a couple weeks, I had people who said, "Where have you been?" Gave each other a hug, and it's just there's some amazing people out there that hit hard times, and that's not a reflection on character. It's just we all go through good times and bad, so it's all about community.
Yeah, I love that. You mentioned the collaboration with other community partners. Can you expand on that a little bit more to give us a better sense of those partners?
Yeah, so we have a monthly executive director meeting with the county and other organizations in the human services area. And there can be all kinds of idea exchange or understanding what program is happening at another agency. So when we sit down and talk to someone, if we hear about a need that they're having, we can often refer them and hold their hand in making that contact. It's one thing to have a list of resources to have to call and fit into your busy schedule. It's something else to say, oh, I know so-and-so at that place. Let me get you two connected to one another. So we work closely with advocates, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Ozaukee Family Services, United Way of Northern Ozaukee is a great partner to us. There's a number of organizations depending on what the need for the client is.
That's cool. That's cool because there's lots of gaps, right, for people, and if all of those community organizations are working together, you together eliminate those gaps for people.
Yeah, hopefully. And I've had clients come in, and I always think of single moms, and they're in a dire financial situation, and they're trying to take care of their kids. And, I've seen women who have a folder with paper sticking out all over the place because everywhere they've gone, people have just handed them a bunch of paper to read through. Well, she just needs somebody to really say, here, contact this person. They'll expect your
Mhm.
call and they will take care of you. That's a very different handoff. And there's a new role that we're hoping will continue in the community, and it's called the Community Service Navigator. And that's a person
Mm.
that really walks people through and connects what is your biggest need right now? Let's get you in touch with that. Then we'll do the next step. Then we'll do the next step. So that has been spearheaded by the United Way. And we've had the Community Service Navigator here. A lot of times, the people that we serve need food, but then they also have some medical needs, or they have some mental health needs, and that navigator can really be the connector as well. So I think in the county, we're always looking for ways to fill those gaps that you mentioned, and provide better and better service. And it's just great to see the different organizations work together to do that. There's a lot of caring people out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you gave a wonderful shout out to all those volunteers that help to help make this happen. But running a nonprofit is a tiring job. So let's be real for a couple minutes,
Yes.
Julie. Um,
Yes.
you've been there 7 years now, and obviously ups and downs through it.
Mhm.
And we've talked about the inspiration. So share with us how, what it's been like for you, especially coming out of corporate in different settings, right, into
Yeah.
this space. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of hustle, a lot of
Yes.
tireless hours as well. Tell us a little bit about maybe not some of the glamorous side to this of what it really takes.
I always say I'm a professional schlepper.
I love
I'm
it.
schlepping stuff from place to place, and I laugh because it is so common that I'll show up somewhere and people will say, "I'm so glad you're here. I have a bunch of stuff in my trunk to get to Family Series. Glad to see you too."
Sure, we'll put it in the back of the
Yeah,
car right
I'll
now.
take it. No problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a 24/7 component to being in nonprofit that people forget, that it's
Hmm.
your job and you have, things to do outside, but that's fun
Hmm.
too, because it is a
Yeah.
passion and a purpose. Um, it can be pretty round the clock. I mean, COVID was for everyone, but COVID
Right.
was a really challenging year. We never closed. We never stopped serving people throughout. So when the world locked down, a couple of us were still here working. Just about our entire volunteer base disappeared overnight because they were
Right.
60 and over primarily.
Right.
Um, we're constantly having to reinvent, and I think that's something that everybody's facing right now. So that's common, but it's a lot. And we have, the resale store and the pantry. Those are two very different things. We launched our three initiatives in the same month last year. I would never recommend anyone launch three initiatives in the same quarter, let alone the same month. And it's been new. I mean, not coming from nonprofit, I've had to learn, grant writing and donor databases, and interaction with donors, which is wonderful, but trying to figure out what they want and how best to communicate with the donors as well. So it's like managing an octopus. There's all these very different tentacles, and I thrive on things being different every day, and I thrive on being busy, but sometimes it's that times 10. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, you are definitely well respected in the community, and you do beautiful work. And everybody I mean, I've never thought to like have you show up in my house to pick stuff up, but maybe now
You
that
have
I
to
know.
sign.
Now that I know.
Yeah.
One of the things that I noticed as I was, following you guys on social media and such is it really appears that you guys are doing a lot more from a partnership perspective with other organizations to help, especially for the food pantry, bring, do food drives and things like that. So tell us a little bit about that and maybe how that's evolving for you.
Well, I think one thing that we have always been good at is there are long-term relationships in the
Mm,
community that have been around for years and years and years, and we've always really enjoyed those partnerships and enjoyed people having, coming in and partnering with us. What we have not done well is tell our story and publicize what we're doing. I think we've been a very lean staff and we've just been focused on doing the work, and what we're not good at is letting the community know all that goes on here. So we are making a more concerted effort to really sing the praises of our supporters, to really show what's happening day to day and get the word out more. So it's marketing. Like any organization, it's marketing, it's PR, it's communication, and of course, social media is a great tool for that. But that outward focus, I think we're so busy focusing inward and doing the day to day, which is such an easy thing to do. But we want to shine a light on all the organizations that help us. And we want to partner with more groups or get their input and their creativity of better ways to serve. So we're definitely working on that. That's an evolving process. But
Well, I think that's, you and I even had a chat this morning earlier about, running a nonprofit and running a small business are a lot in the same vein, especially for leaders, because you're in the business, you're up above the business trying to figure out what's next. And, it's that constant struggle to kind of keep moving forward, like you said, in whatever the issue is that you're facing, telling the story, getting more customers or donors or whatever that is. It's always an evolving, constant movement.
mm-hmm. Well, there's that adage of, as an owner or a leader, you need to make sure that you're working on the business, not in the
Hmm.
business. And it is so
Hmm.
easy to get caught up in the weeds of the day to day.
Yeah.
So we've added some more staff, which helps some. And I think we are still understaffed for the volume of work we do.
Yeah.
But it's, I really want to step away and think strategically and think big picture and form more partnerships and do things that it will impact us in the long term. But sometimes it's the fire that you're putting out that day that becomes the urgent, unimportant, but necessary thing to focus on. And I think that's common for any leader.
What are some of the numbers, Julie, if you have them off the top of your head, in terms of the impact to Ozaukee County that you guys do yearly, or however you measure that?
So right now we are serving, I don't have the most recent numbers right in front of me because those numbers are climbing, but we are serving about 600 families a month. And then another 200 households a month or so are being impacted by our bags and backpacks program for
Mm,
kids. One thing that is happening that's really going to impact us is the emergency allotments from COVID are going away next month.
mm,
So the SNAP program or food share, a lot of people know, that went from people getting $17 a month for food, $17, to $281. Well, $281 is enough to really buy the
right.
majority of the groceries that are needed if you're careful. That will go back next month to $17.
Back to 17.
Back to $17. So I was just on a call with Hunger Task Force the other day, and $1 billion of financial support for food is just going away in the month of February in our country. So I've been talking to a lot of other food pantries, and we're bracing for what that's going to mean to us, because when the government takes that away, they rely on private pantries to pick up that
Mm,
slack. And that really happened decades ago, where pantries originally were just there for emergency need. And then it's kind of grown that pantries are filling that gap that the government isn't. So we're bracing for the fact that this year our numbers are going to climb dramatically. And then you add word of layoffs out there and then grocery prices. And we're just trying to figure out exactly what that's going to look
right.
like and how we continue to serve people. So
Yeah.
the numbers are a very ever evolving thing. Plus, our new programs are growing, which is really exciting to see that we know there's a need, and we're seeing those grow every month. So
I I'm still stunned by $17, right? I think about going to everybody talks about it now, right? Going to get eggs from the store right now, $8, $10. I mean,
Yep.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's just
It just,
amazing.
when I first heard that, it made me angry. Like, why are we
Yeah,
even paying people and it's not worth the paper that we're
right,
spending on it when we're
right,
doing that? That does nothing for people.
right,
What's
right.
going on? So there are a lot of different programs, and people can be involved in programs. And part of our job is to educate people of what's out there to help them, and then
Hmm.
we should be one of those supplements, to the whole process.
Right,
But
right.
it
Yeah.
takes a lot of time for people to navigate and find out whether they qualify or if they're overqualified.
Hmm.
But there's a lot of little programs out there that don't
Yeah,
meet the whole need.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Julie. I have a couple really burning questions. First, I
Okay,
have to I have to know about the commercial pilot because that is so intriguing to me.
right.
What was it like? Right. I bet you're probably glad you're out of the airline industry now, but talk to me a little bit about that.
So it was always one of those things on my list that I wanted to do at
Yeah.
some point. And I actually was working for a company in Texas, and they closed their Texas operations and had a massive layoff. And I happened to meet a gentleman who had worked for American Airlines for years. And I said, "Oh, I want to get my pilot's license at some point." He said, "Julie, as a female with a technical background, that would be a fabulous career move. You could really write your own ticket." And I thought, no, I'd never thought about doing it for a
Hmm.
living. And Texas is a great place to get your pilot's licenses
Oh,
done.
okay.
Fuel is inexpensive, and you can fly almost every single day of the year. So I went to a local flight school and got my private license. And then I kind of jumped in with both feet and got my succession of licenses and started flying some commercial operations and started flight instructing to build hours, and then got a job at a regional airline and was kind of starting that process. And what I realized was I loved the learning of it, but then the day to day was
Yeah,
not exciting. They would say hours and hours of sheer boredom punctuated by
yeah,
moments of sheer terror. It was one or the
yeah.
other. And the other thing that drove me crazy was it's a seniority based world. So it
Oh,
doesn't matter how good you are or how hard you work, you're waiting for the next person to move up, to move up. And that just doesn't suit my personality. And
yeah,
I decided that it wasn't the life for me. And it's hard to have normal hours and a normal life. I'm thrilled that I did it. I
yeah.
still quiz myself on emergency procedures often as I'm falling asleep at night. Um, that's weird, but
That is weird, but that's a fun fact. That's a fun fact about you, Julie.
but I think I'm proud of the fact that I went for it. I don't have
Yeah.
to wonder what if I had done that. I'm glad I did. And who knows? I keep asking the board when we're getting our corporate jet, and they roll their eyes at me every single time. So a girl can
a,
dream.
a girl can drink. She can keep asking. She can
Yeah,
keep asking and see what
right.
happens.
Yeah. So
So
that's the story.
the other one was greyhound adoption. So
Yes.
one of your passions. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, I'm a little bit of a fanatic about greyhounds. I love them. I encountered greyhounds for the first time when I had a friend in Boston that had just the sweetest banana nose little four-legged creature named Anna
Yeah.
Banana. And when I lived in Atlanta, I got involved in greyhound adoption, and the group that I worked with, when the dogs were retired off the track, they went to a local women's prison, and the inmates worked with them for 12 weeks, and they got their good canine citizenship awards, and it kind of helped them transition from the world of the track to being in homes. And it was just so gratifying to foster and work with potential adopters and see dogs once they were in their new home. I just got hooked. So I now have my third greyhound I just adopted in October, and I've helped with probably at least 100 adopters over the years, and I've had quite a few fosters over the years. And
Wow.
they're just fun. Everybody thinks that they're hyper and they need a
Yeah.
whole lot of exercise. They are giant couch potatoes, but they're the fun fact. They're the only dog mentioned in the Bible.
Really?
Yeah, they've been around that long, and
Wow.
they're regal and beautiful, and also the goofiest knuckleheads in the world. So I just love them.
It sounds like a good partner to have around the office.
Yes, and mine is here today. As a matter of fact, it's Friday and it's quiet, so Lizzy's here keeping everybody in line. I'm sure she's got us to sleep right now. So
that's so fun. Well, you have just been a delight to have on the podcast. Can you share for our listeners where they can find Family Sharing and just a shout out to how they could find you and donate or volunteer?
Absolutely. We're on our website is familysharingozaukee.org. You can reach me at julie@familysharingozaukee.org if you have questions. We're also on Facebook and on Instagram. And we welcome questions and people who want to come in for tours or want to volunteer. Give us a shout. We would love it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again for all you do for our community and for others. We truly appreciate it. Speaking as a resident of Ozaukee County, but thank you so much for everything that you and your 115 volunteers do. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for shining the light on Family Sharing and for your support, Julie. You're fantastic.
All right. Well, have a great day, Julie.
All right. Take care.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we have. Are there inspirational women leaders in your life? Recommend them for this podcast by emailing me at jcollins@knot-magic.com and telling me why they're the perfect person to be featured. And please leave us a review on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts to help us share these amazing women with others.